they may know that they were hired to do a job, but they don't know all the different elements of what that job entails. Your employee might suck at what they're doing right now, not because they don't know that you want them to do it, but because they don't know how you want them to do it. Friendships based on business are much better than businesses based on friendships. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Cheer Biz Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Cotton, and today we are going to be diving into 6 reasons your staff might be struggling. Now, before we get into the episode, I want to make sure that you have gone on over to Facebook and you have joined our 2 groups there, Cheer Gym Owners and All-Star Cheer Coaches and Owners on Facebook. We really want to see you be in those groups because that is where we are posting all sorts of amazing content, to include letting you know about our upcoming conferences and other events, like our conference in Las Vegas, January, the first weekend of January of 2025. You're not going to want to miss it. Now, I currently run 3 different companies, and amongst those 3 different companies, I have over 65 individuals that I employ in some shape or form. So I have a lot of people that work for me, and I have learned a lot from the past 13 years running my businesses and having employees, as well as being an employee myself. So we are going to be diving into the 6 reasons your employees might even suck right now at their job. Now, staffing challenges are one of the most common that I hear gym owners dealing with. Aside from I need to bring in more money or I need to find more members, I hear staff challenges is like one of the big issues, whether it be finding staff or when you find staff, having them be amazing, having them actually live up to what we're hoping that they're going to do. I hear owners also oftentimes talk about, how parents are such a pain and it's such a struggle to deal with parents who are unhappy or grumpy or not satisfied. But I will tell you that in my experience, dealing with dissatisfied staff is so much more soul sucking because at least a parent is paying me as a client. So I'm a little bit more tolerant of putting up with the things that they have going on versus a staff member that I am paying to do a job. So sometimes I'm literally going, I'm paying you to be a pain in my booty. And it can just make things really miserable sometimes. And so I have found that there are really 6 reasons that your staff suck and when I say this, I'm a little bit being tongue in cheek and doing a little bit of clickbait here, right? So the staff members are like, wait, I want to know why you think we suck. This is the reasons that they're not living up to those expectations and the 6 reasons that I have found. So number 1, and this is a common one, although it's not the most common, and that is that they are sucking at doing the thing that you want them to do because they didn't know that you wanted them to do it. They actually did not, as an employee, know that you wanted them to do this thing or that it was their responsibility. Now, this may seem obvious. Obviously, you're employed. I want you to do your job. Why would you not know that I wanted you to do that thing? But it's more complicated than that because they may know that they were hired to do a job, but they don't know all the different elements of what that job entails. So for instance, breaking it down to a very small level, you may hire someone to be one of your class coaches in your gym, and they didn't know that as a part of that, you wanted them to be doing tours with new athletes. So a new athlete walks in the door and that staff member is sitting around in the staff room. They have nothing going on. And you're going, why didn't you get up and go greet that kid and, show them around and close that sale? But that staff member didn't know that you wanted them to do that. They didn't know that that was one of their assignments or expectations. And so they had no idea that you wanted them to do that thing. Now, you as an owner might say, well, it's implied. And if you want this gym to grow, you should be finding work. And I get that. I totally get that mindset because I had that mindset for a really long time. But unfortunately, the average employee doesn't know those things. And they're not mind readers. So you have to tell them exactly what you want them to do. And when you clearly communicate it, you're far more likely to get that result that you're looking for. So this ultimately comes down to communication. How are you telling your employees what the expectations are within their given position? And one of the best ways to do this is position agreements. You should have some sort of an agreement, a written outline of these are the things that you are expected to do. These are the things that I want you to do. Because if you hire someone to do a job, they need to know what it is that you want them to do. Now, the next issue, and this is a much more common one, is they don't know how you wanted them to do it. So they knew you wanted them to do it, but they didn't know how to execute on the task. And again, as a gym owner, this can be like, well, I figure it out. I figured it out, but they want to do it to your standard. And there is a large subset of people that in the absence of information will take no action. So if they do not know how to complete the task, they're not going to figure out how to do it. They're just going to stop. They're going to encounter resistance and stop because they don't know how. And they're not going to find the solution because that's not in their nature. And they would rather just stop and not mess it up than take a stab at it to potentially make you mad because they did it wrong. So we need to make sure that we have systems in place. What in your business do you need to systemize that your employees will be able to then execute on the task that you're giving them? If you don't do this, if they don't know how, they don't actually know the way to get to where you want them to go. So going back to my example of closing a sale, so having someone walk in and a class coach seeing them and going, boom, I need to go close that kid. They look lost. So I'm going to go up to them. Do you have the training and the how of you should walk up and introduce yourself and ask if they've been to the gym before, and then you should give them a tour. And do you have a how-to of how to give a tour? What do you show them? What do you say? What do you do? What kind of skills do you assess? From there, how do you close this person? How do you turn them into a paying client? How do you enroll them in iClass? Do you enroll them online? What are the methodologies to close this sale? How do they pick their class? How do you get them enrolled in a class? There are a lot of hows, how-to a very simple process. So you may have said, I want you to coach classes. How? How do you want them to coach classes? Do you want them to go and retrieve the athletes from your lobby? Do the athletes come in and meet them? How long should they be giving for a warm-up? How long should they be doing line drills? How active should they be within the class? Should they be hands-on and spotting? Should they be primarily doing drills? Should they be conditioning? Should they be journaling? Should they be meeting with you? Like, there are a lot of different variances that if you do not tell your employees what the expectation is and how to do it, then they're going to be lost. And so your employee might suck at what they're doing right now, not because they don't know that you want them to do it, but because they don't know how you want them to do it. And in your mind, they're just not doing their job well, when in evidence, they haven't been communicated with how to properly execute that job. And this is a really, really common one. And if you ever want to try to test this out, there's a great example of this. And it's a fun little exercise to do with your staff too, is you say, bring in a loaf of bread and some peanut butter and jelly, and bring in all the things you would need to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And then you're going to give your employees a piece of paper and you're going to say, I want you to write instructions for how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And then you're going to go and you're going to grab those instructions and do literally the thing that they tell you. And you will find that people give a vast array of explanations. It will be, retrieve the bread. Okay, well, they grab the entire loaf. You said, get the bread, get the entire loaf, put peanut butter on the bread. Well, put the peanut butter on the entire loaf, right? Like, you have to be very specific. Grab 2 pieces of bread. Take your peanut butter. When it says put the peanut butter on the loaf, do they mean put the peanut butter jar on, right? Open the peanut butter jar. Grab a knife. Take that knife. Hold bread in your left hand. Scoop the peanut butter out of the jar with the knife with your right hand. Put peanut butter on one side of the bread. Put peanut butter on one side of the other piece of bread, right? And you can break this down. Like, that is how detailed you need to get when you're giving the how to do something for your employees. So we want to make sure that we're setting them up for the most success. The next is that they didn't know when it needed to be done. So this commonly happens in gyms where gym owners are like, well, I told them that I wanted them to start this program or schedule marketing for an event, but you didn't give them a date that it was due. You didn't say, I want this to be done by X date. Or I've talked to owners who are like, well, I have an all-star director, and at their job, they know that it's their job to register all of the teams for competition. Well, did you give them a date that it had to be done by, or a date that the rosters had to be submitted? Like, if you don't give them those things, they may not know when it needs to be accomplished. So oftentimes employees will stagnate because they don't know when something is due, or they don't know the actual like true due date or where the checkpoints are going to be. And so then they miss them. And you go, well, I told you I wanted this done. Well, you didn't say when, so I didn't know. Does it need to be done tomorrow? Does it need to be done in a year? Does it need to be done in a month? So communicating clearly when something is due is going to help set your coaches and your employees up for success. The last is that they didn't know why it needed to be done. They didn't know the impact that not doing the thing would have on the business. What is the why behind it? This is what builds motivation. This is what encourages your staff to do the right thing. They may know that you wanted them to do it. They may know how to do it. They may know when it needs to be done, but they don't understand the why behind it. And so they don't believe in it, or they don't realize how truly important it is that they execute on that task. And that is actually a huge missing piece that gym owners often forget on, is you know why it's so important. You know why you needed that email to go out today, because it drastically impacted the registrations for your clinic a week later, and you needed at least 7 days to, get the marketing stood up. And so because they missed that due date, right, they don't know how it truly impacts things, why they need to do it. And this goes all the way down to cleaning. Have you ever struggled to get your staff to clean the gym? Well, if they don't understand why that's important, then you need to help show them why that's important. Or they don't understand why it's important for them to go out and touch base with the parents at the end of a class and let them know, hey, the kids did really great. These are some things that we happened today. They don't understand why they need to build those relationships. They're less likely to do it. But when they can actually see the why, hear the why, give them proof of the why, they're much more likely to deliver. It's more often than not that your employees want to do a good job, but one of those 4 things is preventing them from doing a good job because they don't know that you want them to do it. They don't know how to do it. They don't know when you want it done, or they don't know why it is so important. And that oftentimes will lead to employees sucking at their job when it's not on purpose. They just are sucking because we haven't set them up for success in the right way. Now, the 5th reason is that you fail to have checkpoints and hold them accountable along the way. This is another us failure as owners. If you are not checking in and correcting actions, then you are setting your staff up for failure. And this happens a lot because we tell people what we want them to do. We give them the system to do it. We tell them when we want them to do it. And we even tell them why. But then we don't follow up and we don't make course corrections. So you say, I want you to build out an email automation to engage with our unrealized customers, people who've opted into our page. I want it to have 10 emails in it. I want it to be done next month, and I want everything to be set to go. And here is why it is so important. And here's the template for how to do it. But you don't check in with them until the day it's due. You're not actually checking in. Hey, how is that going? Have you encountered any challenges, any friction? What can I do to help that get better? So if you're not holding them accountable, you're not checking in with them, you're not supervising the task that you've delegated, then you're much less likely to get the result that you're hoping for. Supervision is one of the key tenets of leadership in the military. There are 8 core troop leading procedures, and the last one is supervise, and it's the one that you could never skip. There were some that you could get by with, being a little bit lazy on, but supervision is the penultimate because it is what is going to allow you to pivot and correct issues as they come up, as things are delegated to an employee. And the last 6th reason that your employees might suck is that you hired the wrong person. And this could be for a variety of reasons. We see oftentimes that you got the person that doesn't fit within your culture. They're not the right person for the job. Maybe you felt desperate and you just needed a warm body. And you were like, I literally just need someone who can breathe, walk, talk, chew gum, and not mess something up major. And anyone works. That is a bad recipe. You want to find people who fit within your culture, who are going to be on the same mission as you, who align with you in values and beliefs and the way that they're going to conduct themselves. This is so important and is one of the most commonly skipped. Character is so important and alignment with values is so important. You need to make sure that you're getting the right person for the position, to include being clear up front with what the position entails. So if you hire someone to be a class coach, but your expectation is that class coaches are building true relationships with kids and they're going to be engaging with them and they're going to be engaging with the parents and they're going to be having parent meetings and they're going to be a face of the brand, and you don't ever in the process of your interviews express that to them, and they think my job is to come in, teach tumbling skills and leave, and then you now lay all these things on them, they might not do a good job at that because you hired them to do X, Y, and Z, and they thought you were hiring them for A, B, and C. And so now you guys aren't aligned with the path that you're on. So you need to make sure that you're hiring the right people that align with your culture and are on the same mission as you are. Now, I will tell you guys, I have made every single one of these mistakes and continue to find myself making them, even though I know that these are the 6 keys to having great employees, that if I just do these things, like 99% of the time, I'm going to get a great result out of my employees. I still struggle with this because managing humans is an ongoing task. It is always challenging. It's something you always have to grow and learn and get better at and modify and remind yourself of and realize, oops, I screwed the pooch on this one. I didn't let them know how I wanted them to do it, or I didn't give them due dates, or maybe I didn't supervise well enough because I got overwhelmed with all the things that were on my plate. So you have to constantly be working on this. Now, if you're in the position like I was within the first 3 years of owning my business, and you hired a bunch of people that were your friends and you came up in the industry together and it's not working well, there are solutions. I will tell you that friendships based on business are much better than businesses based on friendships. And those friendships are going to last longer and things are going to work a lot better. It's a lot harder to backwards engineer a business relationship from a friendship than it is to have a great business and then find friends within that business who now align with you as you guys are on the same mission. So you can get through it. It is a struggle, but again, just go back. Even if you're working with someone who's been your best friend for your entire life, go back to, do they know that I want them to do it? Do they know how I want them to do it? Do they know when I want them to do it? Do they know why it is so important? And am I supervising this person throughout the process? And if you do those things, you will get amazing results. So as you leave this episode, all I want you to do is I want you to reflect on this. Where are the areas that you as a boss can improve? You as a manager, if you're not the owner, you as a manager can improve to do these things for your employees. So when my employees are messing up, I always try to stop and go, how did I fail them? Because a failure by your employees is honestly and truly, I'm not trying to be offensive here, is honestly and truly a reflection on you as a leader. If your employees are not doing what they are expected to do, that reflects on the leader more than it affects on the employee. You can lead your people. Follow this system, focus on these 6 core things, and you will get great employees that grow your business, free up your time, and make your life better. All right, everyone, I hope you enjoyed the episode. As always, make sure you are listening. Check the episodes out on YouTube if you ever want to see my beautiful bald face. Join us in Las Vegas. Join our Facebook groups. And if you need more help, join the Academy. We have coaches ready and standing by to take you on. They're active gym owners right now, and they want to help you grow your gym. All right, everyone, I hope you enjoyed it. With that, we will catch you on the next episode.